Hi, I'm Trish. Buckle up, friends, because the story I'm about to spill is anything but ordinary. One moment, life was cruising on autopilot, and the next, bam, everything flipped on its head. So here are the deets. That morning, I woke up to 79 missed calls from Dad's manager. God, this doesn't look good. I immediately called Mr. Holmes, and as expected, he dropped the nuke on me.
Miss Evans, the stock you bought last week crashed almost 80% overnight. No, wait, it's dropping further. It's 85% now.
What? But how? I did my research, and you said it was a good investment, too.
Well, it was, but the company's CEO made some stupid remarks yesterday and…
I didn't hear a word of what Mr. Holmes said next. All that was playing in my head was Dad's mocking tone.
Trish, business isn't your cup of tea.
Holy crap, what do I do now? This was my only chance of proving to Dad that I was just as capable of handling the family business as my brother. My head was reeling with a million thoughts when a maid walked in and told me Dad was waiting for me at the breakfast table. Ugh, great. Just what I wanted. My anxiety spiked as I entered the dining room, where Dad and David were sitting with that unmistakable "we told you so" look.
Trish, it's been a week since I gave you $100,000 to invest. What's the update?
Well, I invested it in a stock that fell overnight, and I lost most of it. Dad roared with laughter, and David joined him.
Oh, I told you boardrooms aren't for pretty girls. You're meant to spend money, not earn it.
That's ridiculous. We're not living in the 18th century.
Well, I gave you a chance, and you blew it.
This isn't fair. I'm hardly out of college.
Look, Trish, we've been through this before. David is the heir to my business. You'll get married to a rich guy in the next couple of years.
But I wanted to attend a business school.
You need to have brains for that, little sister.
Both started laughing again.
Oh.
I felt raging mad. My father and my brother were being total buttheads, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was always this way, ever since I could remember. Like on our birthdays, David would always get these cool gadgets, while all I got was stupid makeup kits and Barbies. But Dad, I told you I wanted that cool calculator David has.
A calculator will stress your little brain, honey.
But I love math.
And I love you. Now come on, let's go shopping. It's your birthday.
That day, Dad bought me a dozen new dresses and 5 designer handbags. As we crossed a bookstore, my eyes fell on a book, Business Basics for Kids. Dad, I want that.
This isn't a book for a little girl like you. You can have this.
Dad picked up Sleeping Beauty and shoved it into my hands.
Just like Sleeping Beauty, you'll get your Prince Charming one day.
But why do I even need a Prince Charming?
To take care of you, silly. You have me today, but when you get married, your Prince Charming will take over.
The thought of someone taking over my life repulsed me, but I didn't say anything until a week later when I saw the book I'd asked for in David's hands. Hey, where'd you get this from?
Dad bought it for me.
What? I asked him to buy one and he refused.
That's because it's of no use to you, bimbo. It's not like you'll be getting into business.
I seethed with anger, but deep down, I knew David was just telling the truth. No matter how well I scored in school, Dad never took me seriously. He always thought David was smarter than me. Well, not anymore. Dad, I swear I won't eat anything until you give me money to start my own business.
Did you hit your head or something? You just lost $10,000 on some stupid stocks.
I am not talking to you, so zip it up. David looked totally shocked since I'd never talked to him in that tone.
Trish, that is no way to talk to your elder brother.
And he has every right to bully me just because he's older? You remember that business book you got him as a kid? He didn't read a word of it, and when I begged him to let me read it, he threw it into the fireplace.
That's a lie.
Really? And what about the time you rammed Dad's Ferrari into a lamppost because you were driving it with your feet to impress your stupid girlfriend?
What?
Yep, that's true. That car cost more than $10 million. I'm not even asking for half of that amount. Dad looked serious for a while, and my heart leapt with joy when he finally agreed.
Okay, but you need to leave and start your business in a new town where no one knows who you are, and not under my wings. Now, if you manage to make profits in a year, I'll consider bringing you into the business.
Done deal. So that weekend, Dad gave me the check as promised, and I was soon on my way to the airport. Where's the next flight headed to?
Geneva.
Great. Book me a ticket. As I boarded the plane, I felt super anxious and nervous. It was the first time I was traveling solo, and I had zero idea of what I'd do next. Don't worry, Trish. You'll figure it out. I was giving myself a little pep talk when a girl wearing the brightest orange sweater and parrot green tights sat next to me. Hey, I'm Sonia. I love sandwiches, but no spinach. It gets stuck in my teeth. And why are you telling me this? 'Cause you're just about to buy me one. What? Why would I do that? Look, I'm hungry, and when I'm hungry, my stomach makes these weird noises that sound like farts. As if on cue, her stomach actually started growling, or rather, farting. Make it stop! Everyone's giving us disgusted looks. I can't help it. Buy me something to eat and this stops. I immediately called a flight attendant and bought her a stupid sandwich. And thankfully, that horrible growling stopped. Hey, thanks. If you were so hungry, you could have bought this sandwich yourself. That's true, but then I wouldn't get a chance to test my business strategy. What do you mean? See, I made you feel embarrassed about something that wasn't even your problem. Then I offered you a solution that actually benefited me, and yet you gladly accepted it. Wow, that sounds kind of genius. Well, I am a genius when it comes to business. Sonia told me she ran a small cafe in the Geneva suburbs. It's just a cafe today, but it'll be a chain of restaurants soon. Sonia sounded super passionate about her work. She had the wildest ideas and wasn't afraid to take risks. As we got talking, I felt I could learn a lot from her, so I ended up telling her everything about my life. Sorry in advance, but your dad sounds like a jerk. Well, I kind of agree. I mean, he's always given me the best of everything, but assuming I'm any less capable than David just because of my gender is lame. Okay, I have an idea. Why don't you come to my cafe and learn some tips and tricks of doing business? It'll come handy once you start your own thing. Are you sure? I don't want to be a burden. Oh, shut up already. So once we landed, I booked myself into a nearby hotel and spent my days at Sonia's cafe. Sonia was a pro at managing the cafe and came up with insane offers to attract more customers. She held tasting events, offered generous discounts, and was great at interacting with everyone around her. One day she was teaching me how to bake the perfect brownie when I suddenly had an idea. Sonia, you told me you wanted to start a chain of cafes. What if we become partners? I mean, I have a little cash I can invest. How much? I told Sonia the amount, and her eyes grew wide with shock. Oh, my sweet potatoes! You call that a little cash? That's more than enough to start another cafe! Sonia and I spent the next few days deciding on the ideal location for the new cafe, finding a nice interior decorator, and finalizing the menu. She tried several new recipes and made me sample all of them. Trish, sample this pastry. If I eat another bite, I'm legit gonna burst. Oh, come on. Gordon Ramsay samples so many delicacies on MasterChef. Did you ever see him burst? Sonia stuffed that creamy fat overdose into my mouth and it literally melted on my tongue. It's nice, but it has a strange aftertaste. I couldn't figure out what that was, but I spent that night on the toilet seat with my tummy hurting so bad I thought I would die. Sonia got super worried and insisted I get admitted to a hospital. But what about the cafe? There's so much work. All the payments are pending. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. You just get back on your feet before the grand opening. So the next morning, I entrusted everything to Sonia and got admitted to the local hospital. The doctor told me I had a severe case of food poisoning, but it was nothing serious. That day, I kept waiting for Sonia to show, but she neither visited me nor did she call. I thought she must be busy, so I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. That's weird. Where is Sonia? The next day, too, there was no sign of her, and her phone was switched off too. Now I started panicking. I was feeling better, so I asked the doctor for discharge and went straight to her cafe where I got the biggest shock of my life. The cafe had been shut down, the banners removed, and there was a stinking garbage dump right in front of it. I looked around for any sign of Sonia, but zilch, nada. It was like she disappeared off the face of the earth. That too with all my money. I tried asking people around if they knew anything about her, but to no avail. I wandered the streets like a zombie, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, I felt I was about to collapse, so I grabbed a coffee and was about to call her again when I accidentally bumped into someone. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
I wasn't planning on getting coffee on my brand new shirt today, but hey, why not?
He gave me an annoyed look, and something inside me snapped. I didn't plan on spilling my coffee either.
Really? 'Cause you bumped into me like a tornado.
You'd run faster than a tornado if someone disappeared with all your money. I furiously blinked back the tears in my eyes as the guy's face suddenly softened.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm having a bad day too. I launched a bookstore recently and I just found out my helper broke his ankle.
The guy then gave me a sad smile, turned around and left. Suddenly, I had a realization. I didn't even have money to buy myself a ticket back home. Hey, bookstore guy, if you're looking for a new helper, I'm available.
You? Have you ever read a complete book without falling asleep?
Excuse me? I've read everything from William Shakespeare to Toni Morrison. The guy looked unconvinced, but then he blurted out a few book titles and I left him stunned when I summarized them one by one.
Wow, you're not who I thought you were.
Well, didn't Darman tell everyone never judge a book by its cover? The guy laughed and I noticed the cute dimple forming on his right cheek. He somehow looked vaguely familiar.
Well, you're hired, Miss
Trish. The guy introduced himself as Simon and said I could join immediately. So folks, that's how I went from starting my own cafe to being a helper in a bookstore. When I told Simon about how Sonia had duped me, he said I was too naive to trust a complete stranger with all my money. But she seemed so genuine.
Most often, people aren't who they seem to be.
Simon gave me a strange look and then went back to arranging the bookshelves. He was usually a nice person to be around, but sometimes he'd get unnecessarily rude.
Why the heck is it taking you so long to get that book?
'Cause it's lying on the topmost shelf and I can't reach it.
Why did I even hire you if I have to do everything myself?
Then another time he asked me about my favorite book, and when I started listing a few, he snapped.
I asked for one name, not your entire library. Now get back to work.
Huh? What was his deal? Despite Simon's odd behavior, I did my job diligently. I engaged in conversations with customers and suggested them books to buy based on their taste. One day, Simon had some work, so he left early and told me to close the store and hand him the keys later on. When I went to his apartment, he invited me in for a cup of coffee. As he was in the kitchen, I looked around his living area when my eyes fell on a photo. It looked like an old class photograph. I tried to spot Simon, but imagine my shock when I spotted my brother David instead. Simon, do you know this guy?
Of course. How can I ever forget him?
Simon gave me that strange look again, and suddenly it dawned on me. Simon? Dimple on right cheek? You're Simon Thomas? David's friend who was kicked out of school for cheating?
I didn't cheat. I was framed by your brother. He made those notes, and when he was about to get caught, he slipped them into my bag.
Simon's eyes turned red with fury. I'm sorry, I had no idea.
I recognized you the day I saw you.
Oh, so that's why you were so rude to me.
I thought you'd be like your brother, but your passion for books convinced me otherwise.
Simon told me he could never get into a school thanks to David's stunt. I felt so bad for him and so mad at my brother. David can be a total jerk at times. I think that's because he knows Dad always has his back.
Well, what about you? Why are you working at my store when you're the heiress to a fortune?
I told Simon everything about Dad and his reluctance to make me a part of his business. I just wanted to prove to him I'm as capable as David, but turns out I'm just a loser with no business sense.
Who says you're a loser? My store's book sales went up by more than 50% since the day you joined.
Really?
Yes. I think you should cut yourself some slack. You're great just as you are.
Try telling my dad that. You know, it's so hard to see David attending board meetings, even though he's made some terrible business decisions. He's just too good at hiding them. And Dad, he only trusts David.
Maybe he'll trust you too when you show him this.
Simon smiled mysteriously as he walked towards a cabinet and pulled out a packet.
Open this.
Feeling curious, I opened the packet and my jaw dropped to the floor when I saw the pictures inside. They were of David and Sonia laughing in some cafe. What? How? That's when Simon revealed something shocking.
Last week, one of my aunts called me to say a girl had scammed her and she needed my help. When I went there, she shared the girl's pictures. I kept looking for her and found her today at a cafe downtown with your brother.
That's Sonia!
I figured as much.
But I don't get it. How does David know Sonia?
Sonia's a con woman. I guess David hired her to scam you to bring you down.
Wow, that son of a... My dad. I felt so mad that I immediately booked a ticket back to my hometown. I had to tell Dad everything. But little did I know, I had another surprise awaiting me there. When I reached our mansion, I found out that it had been transformed into a frickin' gymnasium. Dad! Dad!
Hey, Trish, you're back.
Yes, and I want my room back now!
Not happening. This is my gym now. Your stuff's in the attic.
The attic? Are you insane?
Hey, that is no way to talk to the owner of this house.
The owner of this house? Dad, what's this nonsense?
Well, David is the heir to my fortune, so I gifted him this mansion.
You did what? Did you think about me even once before doing that?
Of course he thought about you. Why else do you think your stuff is still lying around?
David laughed like a hyena and I wanted to punch him so hard, but I figured that would solve nothing. So I told Dad about Sonia and how David had hired her to pull me down. I even showed him the pictures, but David outright denied everything.
These pictures are clearly photoshopped, and you don't have to blame me for your failures. We already knew you're good for nothing.
Here again, Dad took David's side, and something inside me totally snapped. I left the house forever. Dad didn't even try to stop me. I went back to Geneva and kept working at Simon's store until I'd earned a decent amount. Then I invested it in some stocks after much research. This time, luck favored me and my stocks skyrocketed. I used the money to buy some land, and in a matter of a few years, I had my own real estate company. Then one day I came out of a meeting and found Dad waiting for me outside my office.
Trish, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you.
Dad, do you need something?
No, actually, yes. I just found out David forged my signature and sold off all my properties without my knowledge.
Huh, I can totally expect that from him.
And that's not all. David kicked me out of the mansion last week.
I felt my blood boil, but honestly, Dad had it coming. Oh, so now you're looking for a new home. I'll ask one of the brokers to get in touch.
Actually, I don't have any money. I transferred everything in David's name.
Dad looked so miserable that I genuinely felt pity for him. Despite how he treated me, he was still my father. So I invited him to my penthouse and we started living together. As for David, he soon lost Dad's fortune in gambling, and the last time I heard, he was on the run for cheating a wealthy businessman. Meanwhile, Dad, well, now he can't stop telling people how he always knew I'd make him proud one day. Oh, and Simon asked me out last night, and I said yes.